Edge is the winner at 48 years old, right? Winner
Crazy.
of the Royal Rumble. A lot of people very upset over this, over the age thing.
Oh, get out of here.
Dude, you know what? I want to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah,
you want to
please,
go into
please.
it now? We'll talk about the
dude.
Rumble.
I want to hear your thoughts about Edge being 48.
Well, Edge is 48. Carlito showed up. He's in his 40s.
Good Lord.
You had Goldberg on the card. And listen, I'm not saying this is my thought to this, okay? I'm going to start off with that before I get the attacks that I like the old timers. Not everything is a one-size-fits-all, right? It's fine that you don't want to see Bill Goldberg in a world title match. And it's also fine for you to like that Edge won. It's also fine that you like Sting or you don't like Sting. It's whatever. Everything is your, whatever you like is what you like. But the big discussion now is, why does WWE rely on these guys so much in recent times? Right? That's a big question.
Yeah.
And
huge question.
And the answer is obviously draw power and casual viewers. Yeah, the hardcores are watching, but the casuals have kind of plummeted. Rich's favorite term, the P2s and the P3s are not here as
Talk
much.
To me.
Yeah, let me give you my P's. Somebody wrote to me, he's like, why is it so much more now? We never saw this in the 90s. We didn't see this in the 2000s.
Right. Well, you didn't need it.
Well, if they could have, they would have. Right? You got to look at it this way. And this is something that has not really been brought up. A lot of the talent from 20 years ago in 1999, right? That would have been talent from 1979. These guys worked a lot of dates.
Yeah.
They were not in the condition. First of all, they didn't have national television exposure, right? So that's one. They wrestled, 250 to 300 nights a year. Not easy travel. Life was not easy for these guys.
Right.
They didn't become millionaires. Most of a lot of them did, but not all of them. They didn't become instant millionaires or close to it where they had a much easier, relaxed life. You know, you hear stories. Guys were making, X amount of money on the road. When they stopped wrestling, they had to go and get a job selling cars. It's the old football player story.
Right.
You go from the pro ball to selling used cars for your wife's uncle. That was the reality of things. So the reason why we're seeing a lot of these guys, number one, a lot of them are healthy. There's an entire generation that was able to realize that living that life on the road, especially the guys from the late 90s, they saw what happened to their peers. Either they died or they can't even walk. And these select guys, stayed healthy, and they're still able to wrestle. Where opposed to 20 years ago, those guys were not, you didn't have the national exposure, so they're a household name for a lot of these guys. And you also didn't have the health that these guys have.
100%. But you know what WWE used to do was, do you remember that whole Heath Slater bit where he would get beat up by a different legend every week?
By a legend, yeah.
But they gave those legends like a minute to work, like hit their finish and that's it, and pop the crowd. Where as opposed to now, Edge worked the entire Royal Rumble. He worked the entire Rumble. He looked great. And the other thing I kind of want to mention too is like, WWE did a very odd thing in the early 2000s when it came to the legends, because in 2002 Hogan was undisputed champ, I think, right? Or was it 2003?
Hogan's the golden goose, right? Like I take him out of the equation. But for every Hogan that returns, right? Listen, till the end of time, WWE will use Hogan. Hogan and Andre and Warrior and Macho will be till Rock, Hogan, Hunter. Those guys will be immortalized till the end of time, right? They have left reality, and now they're characters, they're cartoons. You could see it next to me. You never had this. Didn't exist. These didn't exist for those old guys from 30, 40 years ago that were wrestling. They're easily recognizable.
Okay,
there you go. So I did it. Thank God. Listen, look at Carlito. Looks better than he ever did.
Somebody put Carlito's head on John Cena's 2006 body.
Same. Yeah, that's you said. He has John Cena's body from 2006. It's great. Do I look at that as a negative that he's there? No. You know what? He needs to make a living too.
absolutely can't begrudge anybody for making a living. And also, like, don't you think Vince looked at him and was like, "Holy balls, kiddo, what happened to you?"
Oh yeah, they definitely saw him and said, "Oh my god." But the big question, you Christian's back full time, mid 40s, Edge is back late 40s, Bill Goldberg's in a match, Brock Lesnar's coming back, obviously, John Cena possibly coming. But the roster is a lot older, and that's not due. And by the way, I think the average Rumble, I think it was like 37 years old, 36 and a half years old, the average age of the men's Rumble. Opposed to, I forgot there was a statistic, and it was like 31 for the other one. I forgot what they were comparing it to, but guys are staying healthier, therefore they're going to get older.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to stay active. Listen, what WWE did with that big boom was that it was out of necessity. They had to create talent because the old talent left. I'm not defending using old talent because obviously it gets stale. But you're not having that turnaround as quickly as you did. A guy like The Miz would not be on TV still if this was another era.
Right. These guys, Miz is a great example of, like, he's worked the schedule. He's been there for a million years. He's not very injury prone. He works safe, You could kind of make a Ric Flair comparison, and like they both work very smart and to further like have career longevity, right? If you think about the guys from like the late 90s through the 80s too, they're all banged up. Like Austin had to leave because he was banged up. Mick Foley, Kevin Nash is a good example. Even Shawn, like taking a lengthy break because of an injury. Now you got guys like AJ Styles who are in their 40s who look like they can go with anybody on earth and haven't slowed down.
Yes, I mean, listen, you're gonna slow down. It's gonna change, but I think the comparison with age is it's a difficult comparison because if we go to 2000, the peak of pro wrestling, if you took a guy from 1980, a top guy from 1980, and you put him in the main positioning, the main event, how would that guy do?
Right.
How would Bruno Sammartino do in the year 2000 in WWE? Not well. It wouldn't happen.
It was also, I think it was also a different time where if Bruno came back in the early 2000s, I don't know if it would be a joke.
Listen, you young whippersnapper.
But I feel like it would just be like a quick, like, one-off thing. As opposed to, like, I think the Sting return is a great example. WWE pulled out all the stops to get Sting there to have a couple of matches, right? If Bruno was healthy around that time and able to still go, do you think they would have given him...
I'm sorry, he would have been 65 years old then.
Do you think they would have given him, like... If he was healthy, good to go, do you think they would have given him, like, a marquee match?
I think Bruno's a bad example because he was a lot older. But let's think 1980 to 2000, right? 20 years. Who was popular in 1980? 1980 WWF. Let's see. Who was their champion? Okay. 1980 alumni. Here we go. 1980s. I want to see 1980. I want to see a card. Show. All right, let's do this because this is interesting if you think about it. I know we're on a tangent here, but
which is fine.
1980, 67. Okay, let's see the Garden here. Okay, 1980, sure. Madison Square Garden. Here we go. Broadcasting live on MSG Network, featuring Vince McMahon on commentary. You had the main event. Oh well, you had Hulk Hogan,
sure.
WWF Tag Team Champion Tito Santana with a suplex. Renee Goulet in a match. You had Bob Backlund, WWF champion, Henseeka, right? That was your title match. Andre the Giant and WWF champion, IC champion, Pat Patterson defeated Bobby Duncan and Ken Patera. Larry Zbyszko defeated Bruno Sammartino with Arnie Skulland in his corner. So Larry Zbyszko, here we go. Kerry Von Erich was here. Here we go.
Wow.
You know what? He's the only one that could have survived in 2000. I think Kerry could have had a match.
Okay. All right.
Nobody
fair
else.
enough.
I mean, I don't count
Super
Hogan
healthy.
here, right? Because Hogan is an exception. But very interesting time. There's nobody.
Yeah.
Tony Atlas, which you still saw on Peter Maivia, Ivan Putski, Gorilla Monsoon, Larry Zbyszko, Larry Sharp. Different era. Didn't work. You couldn't translate this.
I also think like the quote unquote part-timer returns are fascinating because in terms of WWE, I think the more guys that they can not give much direction to, the happier they are. They're probably not giving much direction to Edge at all.
By the way, here's one. Superfly Snuka, Jimmy Snuka. You saw him on TV until 10 years ago.
Yeah, brother.
So it's an interesting comparison. I think we need to remember that when we talk about people's age and how old they are. Listen, I understand the argument that the younger guys need to be featured more, but in the way that they're running it, it just, my God, it sucks for them. They don't get that exposure. They don't. It's too convoluted. Let me just put it that way. Hey guys, thanks for checking out Matmen Clips. If you want to listen to a full episode of the show, click on one of the links below and be sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube and of course everywhere podcasts are available.